Walt Whitman was the man who revolutionized American poetry. He invented a whole new poetic form, and he opened up topics to a wide range that nobody else would touch.
Walt Whitman was born on May 31, 1819, in West Hills, New York. His parents were of modest means, and he had 7 siblings.
At the age of 11, Walt Whitman was pulled from school so that he could help the family support itself in the printing industry. As a result, Whitman was largely self-taught.
He became a voracious reader. He read widely, especially in novels.
When he was 17, Whitman turned to teaching, and his first job was in a one-room schoolhouse. He taught for 5 years, and then in 1841, he set his sights on journalism.
Walt Whitman was a volatile editor and writer. He had strong ideas about women's property rights, about immigration, and about the major issue of the day, slavery.
From 1848 to 1855, Whitman began what was to become his greatest work, Leaves of Grass. His free verse, his stitching together of encyclopedic lists, completely broke with poetic and literary convention, and vastly influenced poets ever after, across the world.
It began as a book of very few poems and grew to one over the years to contain almost 300 poems. Over his lifetime, he had 7 editions of the book.
During the Civil War, Whitman moved to Washington, D.C. to attend his wounded brother George. He stayed in D.C. several years, working in the paymaster's office, and volunteered, visiting wounded soldiers.
When he went to the hospitals, there were limbs piled up outside. He spoke with young soldiers who had witnessed the most astonishing atrocities.
From his experience with the wounded during the war, he produced a small book of poems called Drum Taps. This is one of the only 2 accounts of the Civil War written by people who actually experienced it.
Whitman published 2 new collections of poems in 1870, Democratic Vistas and Passage to India.
Whitman was called the Bard of Democracy because all of his poems are based on the notion of a universal brotherhood. He thought that the possibility of America was to achieve a brotherhood that no other culture had yet been able to achieve.
Whitman suffered a stroke in 1873, leaving him partially paralyzed. He moved to Camden, New Jersey, where he remained until his death on March 26, 1892.
In his lifetime, Leaves of Grass was considered by many people to be a disgraceful book. But by the end of his life, he acquired the name the Good Gray Poet, as if America was finally ready in the later years to accept him as a poet.
Whitman never really received the attention that he deserved during his lifetime. It was only in the 20th century that we learned how to read his poetry and understand what he accomplished.